Hey, check it out. This place will make you shout. It's Zoopolis. Zoopolis! It's hip, it's quite the scene. If you're purple or you're green in Zoopolis. Zoopolis! We got big cats that cool, and we never go to school. Every day's a laugh. Watch the hippo take a bath. You'll never want to leave. It's a place you can't believe. It'll make you want to dance. Clap your hands and take a chance. It's Zoopolis. Zoopolis! It's Zoopolis. It's Zoopolis. The tigers show in style, and the monkeys make you smile. In Zoopolis. In Zoopolis. See the keeper shake his hose. He's washing Ellie's toes. In Zoopolis. In Zoopolis. Baby apes kiss and hug. Crocodiles aren't so smug. And Mish, the polar bear, she doesn't have a care. As the penguins eat their lunch, the vultures snap and hunt. We're rapping hot to biz, and that's the way it is. In Zoopolis. In Zoopolis. It's Zoopolis. It's Zoopolis. Flashy fishes on a caper, these noses are two tapers, hot eyes and tiny hairs. Yeah, it's a far-out land. In Zoopolis. In Zoopolis. Yeah, Zoopolis. Yeah, Zoopolis. It's Zoopolis. It's Zoopolis. Zoopolis!
What a wild ride! Oh, Zoopolis! Oh, I just love that song! Oh, Zoopolis! Fred, shut up, Fred! Fred, get out of my way! I'm the star of the show! Hello, I'm Gilda Gorgeous! I'm your hostess today for a very special journey through the zoo to see things nobody can see unless they live or work at a zoo.
I'm taking them.
No, you're not, Fred. I'm going to do it. I got this job because I'm the tallest one here, and I can see everything. So there, I'm Gilda Gorgeous.
Oh, shucks. You always get the best jobs.
Ignore him. He's just jealous. Let me tell you about today's exciting Zoopolis adventures. We'll meet Mishka, the crazy polar bear. Go underground where the animals sleep at night. Venture into the tiger's backyard. Applaud Harold, Zoopolis' superstar. See the elephants get a manicure. Find out about this man and his baby gorilla. Meet Henrietta, the hornbill who thinks she's a cocker spaniel, and Shandar, the white tiger whose real name is Chippers. We'll even accompany Lucy the lion when she goes to the dentist. Oh, I love the dentist, don't you? Oh, look, there's Mishka and Dawn the bearkeeper. Let's check them out. Whee!
Mishka, the little polar bear, she's a real polar bear. When I say real polar bear, I mean she stalks. She stalks you. If I could go over there and just call her name, she'll get down on her haunches and stalk me. She's doing what a polar bear usually does.
Is she dangerous?
She's a mean bear. She doesn't look it, but she is a mean bear.
Let's ask Dr. Gil Bosey, our zoo director, about Mishka, the polar bear.
I'd say Mishka is a very popular exhibit animal because, one, she's beautiful, and two, she is a very active animal, and she is also active during the peak visitor time, which makes her truly a popular animal at our zoo. She has an interesting personality in that she seems to be a crowd pleaser. She knows that activity tends to keep a lot of response. She displays some of the traits that make polar bears so popular. One, they're They're beautiful, that white color, so clean, and they look also quite cuddly in a way. However, a polar bear is not a cuddly little bear. Polar bear is a very capable hunter. They grow and become quite large, could be over 1,000 pounds, and in many cases, their antics, which are in some cases quite interesting because it's alleged by Eskimos that even when they hunt, as they crawl on their stomachs, they put their paw in front of their nose so that they blend totally in with the white environment. And also polar bears, as other bears, seem to be able to develop certain little tricks by virtue of how the public responds to what they are doing.
You look back to make sure you're all alive.
She has so much fun with that half barrel. She really puts on a show with that half barrel. In fact, sometimes I think it's worth the price of admission at a zoo just to see her perform. To stand there for 15, 20 minutes, and that's really something to see. She's a real clown. She loves to dive. She likes when you talk to her, believe it or not.
Mishka. Honey. If you go. We're gonna throw it. Don't just jump in there. Throw it. Throw it. Throw it. Very good.
Mishka is famous for taking that barrel off. Besides playing with it, she'll go underwater and disconnect the bolt. In fact, she's disconnected the bolt, took the barrel out, took the barrel for a walk. She's also disconnected. There's a regular type sewer cover down there that she dismantled and moved. And we figured that cover is well over 100 pounds, plus being underwater, and she moved it around like nobody's business. When she took the washers and the bolts off the sewer cover, she neatly stacked them on the edge of the pool. Well, we have to drain the pool then and have a maintenance department come and refasten the barrel with the bolt to the cable and to the manhole. When I go to feed the sea lion, she's to my left, and I can't see her except if I walk over by the wall. She knows I'm feeding the sea lions, and she sits there and waits. So when I walk over there, the very first thing she does is her stalking motion. She gets down and creeps over. And I just talk to her, and I say, Mishka, you want this fish? I hold a mackerel in my hand, and I throw it from the ledge into her pool, and she takes a running start and dives in after it. And it's really nice to people like that. Especially to see her dive like that. She's something else.
Isn't Mishka a graceful diver? She just loves to eat fish. You know, folks in Zoopolis can't wait to gobble down the food.
We just like to feed them oxtails. We usually try to give them to them twice a week. It's like more natural feeding for the vultures. You know, they get fed a ground mix every night, and we just put it in pans. But twice a week we try to give them the oxtails. They have to work at it. There's a lot of social interaction. There's nothing really harmful. No one gets hurt or anything. But it's just more natural for them, and it simulates their wild conditions much closer than it does always giving them the ground mix. So we like to think that it's beneficial for them, and it's educational for the public.
We still use here at the Milwaukee Zoo, a lot of natural diets for the birds, but we do use quite a few artificial or pelletized and powdered diets. Fish is used, of course. We have a bucket of fish right at the end here. We use some fish for the birds in the water bird hall, such as the herons and egrets and so on.
Those penguins are so cute, waiting in line. Reminds me of, oops, I've lost control of my tongue. I'd better take a sip of water. You watch my friends waiting and munching.
We're in the small mammal building, getting the food ready for the marmosets and the cats and the bats and the foxes and all the rest of the small mammals. Galagos, dwarf galagos, grand galagos, bush-tailed galagos. You get fed once a day, afternoons. You get diet vitamins added to their diet to make a full complement of nutrition. This is what we make up every day, and we call it a salad, which most of the animals here get, except the cats. And it consists of bananas, oranges, cottage cheese, powdered vitamins, minerals, and your canned primate diet. And we blend that together, and we give a little bit to each animal accordingly. It's a salad.
Looks tasty.
I could eat
I
it.
could eat it too. Salad is so good for my figure. I watch myself. We all do in Zoopolis, staying healthy. Large and lovely. Isn't she cute? My, here's the adorable Miss Hippo. She eats lots of plants. I wonder what her grocery bill is. Here's another big spender. Eating is love, you know. I love to eat. I can chew and chew and chew. And so can all my children. Oh, look, there's my sweet child. Isn't she beautiful? Don't you just love babies? I do. Babies are the best thing about Zoopolis.
One of the most popular things at a zoo are the baby animals, those that are born and raised at a zoo. People just love to see the babies. In our zoo, we have quite a few babies right now, some on display, some not on display. Snow leopards may come out. Baby moose is out all the time. We have baby gorillas. We have some baby antelope at this time. The goal of a zoo would be to have the infants raised by their mothers or their mother. Sometimes it doesn't work. Now you'll see the moose being raised by its mother, and the snow leopards are with their mother. But Mandara and Kuya, the two young lowland gorillas, are not with their mothers.
The baby gorillas are, Kuya and Mandara, are in a program now. These animals had, for various reasons, had to be separated from their mothers and hand raised, although we don't like to do this. In this case, it had to be done for the survival of the infants. And what we are trying to do is prevent these gorillas from becoming human-like, and also we're trying to encourage them to develop normally to their maximum capacity. To do this, we have a volunteer program where we have trained volunteers who act as surrogate mothers for these animals throughout their waking hours. There is a person there to care for them, to comfort them, to carry them, to act as their mother. Hand-raising animals can be frustrating experience because these animals may become imprinted on humans and then fail to act as the species they are. We feel that the program is being very successful. There is a student who's comparing Mandara with other hand-raised gorillas and other mother-raised gorillas, and Mandara very favorably compares with those gorillas that are being raised by their mothers. It's a long, involved process. We've had volunteers on this program for more than 2 years now, and they've spent 24 hours a day for many months, and now they're down to like 16 hours a day because the gorillas are asleep the rest of the time. But still, it's many, many hours that are put in 7 days a week. There's no breaks in raising infant gorillas.
You get pretty attached to them. But you listen to people who've had a dog or a cat for 10 or 15 years, and it's probably pretty much the same. I think these animals, and it's okay, these animals are so similar to us. Perhaps the attachment is a little more. I love animals in general, so I'm a pretty bad judge.
Mm-hmm.
You're okay.
You want to move forward? Come.
Come on. She's a little nervous. She gets more frightened in situations where Kuya, being a little younger, he's kind of oblivious to them. He just takes them in stride.
Data shows better raise them with human contact than in social isolation, but best raise them with gorillas. So consequently, Mandara had 1 year with Mandara moms, and then the second year with Mandara moms and Kuya. So we're trying to give them the best of both worlds, and the goal will be to slowly wean them from the human contact and bring them more and more into gorilla contact. We have constantly exposed Mandara and Kuya to other gorillas to them, and our goal would be to have Mandara and Kuya into a social setting with other gorillas. But it is a long process.
I don't know if it's a preference or not, but after a 4-hour shift, and the mom has probably disciplined, especially Mandara up here, has disciplined her once or twice, she's ready for a new mom. And when the mom comes on, she usually greets her with she goes and usually hugs her, like, oh boy, I'm glad I have somebody new. Or the mom kind of wears out after 4-hour shift, and she's still going 80 miles an hour, so she's ready for a fresh mom. So I don't know if she actually shows a preference between us. We've never all been together, I suppose.
I think she reacts differently to the different moms because they react differently to her. Some moms are maybe a little bit more strict with discipline than others, and she's got them pretty well all pegged as to what she can get away with each one.
She loves clover flowers. That's what she's eating. That's a good way to win her heart.
We'll know whether it's successful or not if they become healthy adults and reproduce. Then we know we've done our job. At this time, the way I see it, and in my experience with other great apes at other zoos, when I've been involved in such programs, we have succeeded. And I think we're succeeding with this one. And it shows that if you really set up a good program, zoos can raise these youngsters and work them back into the social environment of their species and really make it work.
This is our female Shagatsi's third litter. Years ago, it was quite a special event to have snow leopards born. They weren't born very often in captivity. The abundance of many of the wild animals is not there anymore. Years ago, when zoos needed new animals, they would just go to the wild and capture a few. What it meant at that time was just so many less for the fur traders. But the wild population has deteriorated to the point where there just is not a population there to restock zoos or wild animal parks. So all of the animals you see in zoos nowadays are born at zoos. And in recent years, the survival rate of the snow leopards has increased. It was only about 3 years ago that the survival rate of youngsters was only about 50%. And now it's increased to the point where you do find snow leopards on surplus lists, which was unheard of a few years back. The care of the cats is all up to mama. We don't really have to do anything. Last year, we only handled them when they needed inoculations. The reason we're handling this year's litter more is to adjust them to changes. We don't want to make pets out of them. We want them to relate to each other. We don't want them to be human imprinted. That happens with many of the animals when they're taken away from the parents at day one, or the mother rejects them, and you have to hand raise them, and they become, especially if they don't have a litter mate. If they have a litter mate, it's not so much of a problem because then they relate to their litter mate. But if they're alone, they relate totally to people, and they think they're a person rather than an animal. And it becomes very difficult later on to accustom that animal to zoo life and to life with another animal because it just wants people contact. About 75% of our activity here at the Lion House is not what you see now. It's the routine cleaning and feeding that has to be done every day. When you're taking care of animals, the care includes basically that, cleaning and feeding. This is extracurricular activity that we just enjoy. We don't have babies born all the time, especially now. In recent years, there have been so many of the big cats born in captivity that you can't find a home for them, so you just stop breeding them. It's only those that there's a demand for or that we can find homes for that we even consider breeding. And of course, that's the big excitement for us is to have little ones. This guy is a husky one. Oh, are you a husky? Are you a husky little guy?
I just love the babies, don't you? They're so cute. Oh, look there. They're letting the elephants in for their morning baths. Keeping the elephants clean and taking care of their feet is very important. I'll bet you didn't know elephants have very tender tootsies. But confidentially, you know what those zookeepers spend most of their time doing? Cleaning up elephant poop. Great big piles of it everywhere. Oh, I seem to have lost my head. Pretty soon, we'll be seeing the elephants getting their baths and manicures. Oh, how exciting. Let's go watch the whole thing. Talented elephants. Who's that calling me? Whatever do you want?
Harold sent me with an important message.
Zoopolis' superstar? Oh, what does he want?
Harold wants to be next. He does.
He does? Well, hey, Harold is my hero, and he can have anything he wants.
Giddy.
And now, folks, Zoopolis' superstar, Harold the bird. My goodness, we've caught Harold kissing his trainer. Harold, stop that! Stop that! Stop the music! Stop the music! Harold in front of your girlfriends, too. Shocking! Harold, you're a terrible flirt. You should have stopped that right now. You have visitors. Stop that. That's better. Astonishing. These spoiled movie stars just sitting around, basking in the sun, surrounded by pretty chicks. Oh, I think that's what they call these groupie birds. I mean, look at Harold. Just because he's a handsome green macaw with a beautiful face and gorgeous feathers, he gets to gorge himself on sunflower seeds, hanging out simply for the next performance. But we love him. Harold's been entertaining citizens of Zoopolis for many, many years. Harold's acrobatic skills are legendary, as are his flamboyant romances with the girls. Oh my, I'm gossiping now. You know what they say about these movie stars. It could just be all a big rumor, although it doesn't look like it. Well, it looks like Harold is getting ready for the show. Yes, it's showtime. Yes, it is. Oh, if you'll stop kissing his trainer. Harold, remember the show? Remember? The show, Harold? The show. What about the show? Yes, I think he remembers it. We're in luck. It's a special performance just for us. It's showtime. Oh, Harold's got a call from his agent. Hollywood's beckoning. Rumor has it Harold's landed a romantic lead. But he's not the only show in town. One starting right now at the Aquarium Reptile House.
Welcome to our Animals in Action program. Now, this first young lady, isn't she Predonco? Oh, she happens to be a very, very nice young lady. This is called an orange-knee tarantula, and this is native to southwestern United States, Mexico, and South America. And right off the bat, I'd like to tell you that she is venomous, but she really doesn't have enough venom to kill an adult mouse, let alone a human being. And the orange knee in specific, we have never heard of biting anybody at all. Now, there are roughly 300 species of hairy spider or tarantula worldwide, 30 in the United States alone. And there has never been a documented death by any one of these animals ever. About the only time they're really dangerous is when they're in the old James Bond movies or Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that's why they're used in the movies, because most people have an initial fear of very, very small spiders. And when you magnify it this large, most people think that it's going to jump right from the ground to your throat. And actually, it's a very, very nice animal.
My name is John Kowalski. I work here in the aquarium reptile building. And as far as feeding the alligator, okay, generally what we do, it is considered a potentially dangerous animal, so we always work in pairs. What you have to go in there, of course, if one is in the near doorway, you take a buckboard along, and of course you just shove them out of the way. As funny as it sounds, it may look a little bit rough to a lot of people. It's really not. They're very heavily armored animals, and such a procedure isn't all that hard on the animal. At that point, once we get them into the water, then of course we can start with the feeding. Generally, you shake a couple fish in the water, the scent goes in along with the noise, and oftentimes they react to this and they come over to be fed at that time. They're well conditioned to this. They do lunge, yeah, but mostly it's what we call a false lunge. They aren't really out to get you. They're just, it's kind of a little bit of a show. Show a little bit of dominance, maybe.
Ew! Did you see those teeth? Ugh! Speaking of chompers, Lucy the lion is with the doctor and the dentist at the same time. I want to watch this.
Today we anesthetize Lucy, the female lion, to give her a hormone implant, which we put under her skin. And this is a rubberized cylinder with a synthetic hormone that gradually diffuses out into the body and is absorbed by the body of the lion, which prevents her from ovulating and hence prevents her from becoming pregnant. The reason we're doing this is there's such a surplus of lions in captivity right now, and we want to make sure that if we do have lion cubs, they can go to an approved zoological institution. While we have her down, we'd like to do other procedures that require general anesthesia so that we only have to give one anesthetic dose. The anesthesia we give is generally safe, but there is a risk anytime you anesthetize an animal. So anytime we do anesthetize an animal like this, we do as many procedures as we can all at once and as rapidly as possible to keep her anesthetic dose as low as possible.
Today we took advantage of the general anesthesia for Lucy's birth control implant to examine her teeth. We knew that she had a couple of damaged teeth and they've been broken a while, and we want to just make sure there was no pathology, no infection or anything that needed to be repaired. And they seem to be in good shape. We took some radiographs, some x-rays also. Working with the animals presents a number of mechanical problems. The tools that we use on humans are generally too small for most of the animals. We have to modify our instruments. So through trial and error, many veterinarians over the years have developed the proper approach, and we try to apply all those principles. They've been developed mainly with dogs and cats. Of course, with these exotic animals, the dimensions of the teeth is a big issue.
If we decide in the future that we want to breed the lions, we have the option of taking that implant out and letting her become pregnant. Another reason that we're doing that is we don't want to separate her from the male. In the zoos, we like to keep even animals that are normally solitary with another animal of the same species. So for social reasons and for the fact that we have these surplus of lions, we gave her this implant so we could keep them together.
You know, a wonderful thing about Zoopolis is the friendship between the zookeepers and the animals. It's a very special kind of love, and we're really lucky. We're going to get to see it right now.
I'm working with them routinely, daily, particularly the primates, any animal, but primates being a little higher on a scale than any of the other mammals. They're very personal, very intelligent, very individual in personality, characteristics, so on and so forth. They get very attached. It's like family. They get possessive, jealous of one another, of various people. You strike up a rapport and you're a true friend of theirs. You not only represent the care and feeding, but you're a real friend. But sometimes there's a little rough stuff. We do go in with the gorillas accepting the largest, oldest one, Tanga, but we go in with 10-year-old Tino and we go in 20-year-old Diane. Sometimes with Tino, he's a physical. He plays. He's very physical. I got a bloody nose once. He smacked me. But this is all part of it, I guess. People often ask me, why did I come out? What got me started? I guess it goes back to when I was a kid and I always liked primates. I'd hang around pet shops where they had monkeys. I'd go to the zoo frequently. And I think as a young child, if you're able to develop your interest into something you want to do, knowing you're going to be at work for 40 years or whatever, and that's what it's about. Many of us feel that way, that enjoyed working around and with animals and being around them as youngsters, and we've developed it into a job.
learn to know them. You learn to know each one as an individual. Each animal has a different personality. Some are more aggressive, some are more friendly, some are more humorous. And it gets pretty personal with them. The crowned cranes in here, I like to call them the original punk rockers, and the ostrich, because they're not real bright. I like to feel that they're the origin of the euphemism bird brain. The marabou storks out here, they remind me of flashers, like men in raincoats. And then we have Hornrietta, who you saw in the other yard, who is another bird. She's a hornbill, but she's more like a cocker spaniel who happens to be caught in a hornbill body. It's just little characterizations that we give to all the animals, little pet names that we have for the animals. Everyone has their, their favorite. Valiant, he's our spectacular resident male kudu. He's about 4 years old, and when we first got him, you can see the curls on his horns. He's got several full curls. But when we first got him, his horns were only about 8 inches long, and they were just developing that first curl. They were just starting to turn back. So he has grown quite a bit, and he has developed quite a wrap. Oh, that's Buana and Bahari. Buana is our male, and Bahari is the female. Zebras are probably one of the more dangerous animals in the zoo because they are very, very aggressive, very territorial. The males do very actively protect their females, so dealing with them oftentimes can present problems. There have been keepers who have been injured by zebras. You have to remember that these animals are wild animals, and the wild instincts that they have, they're what have kept them alive in the wild for years, and it has been bred into them over thousands and thousands of years, and you're not going to get rid of it through 5 or 6 generations of zoo breeding. You're just not going to. You're not going to breed it out of them that fast. So there is the potential for them to be wild, and it makes it even worse if you have something that you have treated as a pet and that you think is completely trustworthy, because there's always the time when they may interpret something you're doing a little bit different, and they may feel threatened and they may strike back. So you do have to be a little bit extra careful with them. You can see the animals, they know this is different. A lot of them are watching us. That's the water buck standing there. That's more the wild instincts in them. They're alert to any changes, anything different. Each animal has a built-in flight distance. You can only get so close to them before they will flee, and that is called their flight distance. And we're, right now they feel comfortable. They don't feel real threatened. But if you would get closer to them, then if you get within the bounds of that flight distance, then they will run away from you. Storks, I think, at least, are pretty intelligent birds. These guys try to get out of the exhibit, and then they walk back and forth up there on that wall. Marabou storks are, I don't like to say they're ugly, but a lot of people think that they are. They'll see them and they'll say, oh, are they ugly? They're a little bit bizarre, maybe a little bit unique, but I certainly wouldn't describe them as ugly. Each animal, regardless of what you feel, has its own dignity and its own unique personality. And it comes down to the old saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, now stork, he's in there and he's looking at me and he's saying, ooh, boy, is she homely. But he's looking at that cute little lady stork on his right, and he thinks she's a real good looker. Hi, guys. That's very encouraging to me that we're doing it together, because it's very encouraging, because that means she's responding to your courtship. When he displays and then she responded with a little bit of clattering, that means that she's interested in him, and it's the first step in the stork's courtship, and that's what we're trying to accomplish, to get the storks to breed. Now this is a food exchange. Okay, that's Stanley, and Stanley is the male hornbill. You can see his throat sac is inflated. That's the first step in courtship. She offers him that piece of meat. Now, if he would accept it, and then maybe if he would offer her something back, that would be, further steps taken in the courtship. Okay, this is the winter quarters area. And it's where our animals come at night. They come in here every evening. We have Vietnamese coming in and out every night, simply so that we can bring them in when it does become cold. We can make sure that they're eating, that they're not off feed, that the stool is normal, that they haven't gotten any minor injuries. If you don't watch them all the time, there may be minor injuries that you may miss. You become attached to them more than you would like to. There's always a few who, because of their personality, they force you into developing an attachment. And Henrietta is one of those. She's one of my favorites.
I'm a bear keeper. Take care of polar bears, grizzly bears, black bears, basically, and other North American stock in this area, which consists of the sea lions, otters, caribou, elk, and the beaver. I like my charge of animals. I think it's unique, all the North American stock. They're nice animals to work with. It's interesting. And if you maintain a good attitude towards your work, you can learn a lot about animals. I do believe there is no such thing as a dumb animal. No way.
You want to drive, huh? Just don't party on me, okay?
Gee, we should get a command for that.
That's the camera. That's the
Gotta try all the buttons. First grill and driver's education.
It is at times very easy to develop emotional involvement and emotional attachment to the animals. More and more zoo animals are zoo-born animals. More and more endangered species are breeding in zoos to perpetuate the species, so that just in case they are threatened in the wild, zoos will always have sort of a species bank, an insurance against the ultimate extinction. It's better to have animals even in captivity than not having them at all.
Look at that, what a pretty coat. Sure. Like a pretty boy. Chippers, come on. Come on, Chippers. What's the matter? Fly bite you, Chippers? There's our boy. Look at that nice guy. He is the nicest guy. Such an easygoing cat, aren't you? Oh, he says, I smell something. Boy, my nose does work, doesn't it? Look at that. Hey, Chipper, stop and look up. Hey. No. I guess you do have your special favorites. I've been at it about 22 years, and I've never once thought I could have had a more pleasant job. I enjoyed everything to do with the job for as long as I've been here. Been in the feline building for about 16 years now. There's always enough change to keep your interest up. You're always planning on something new. Like we have Shandar this year as a new acquisition for us. And of course that stimulates us to keep up our interest. Most of the animals are quite congenial to us, even though we don't have a lot of personal contact with them. They do get friendly at their cage bars and give us a greeting that the same as they would to each other. Of course, we don't want to be one of their playthings, and that's what you could be if you became totally involved with them. They would make a game out of keeping you. It's a kind of a job that you wouldn't apply for unless you really wanted it. People that don't want to care for animals probably would detest the job, because there are a number of dirty, messy things that you have to do as a routine, but there sure are enough rewarding things to compensate for the everyday.
That's our journey from Zoopolis. It's been fabulous. Oh, showing you around from all the zookeepers and all of the animals and me. Gilda Gorgeous, goodbye. And remember, we love you. Oh, my, what fun I'm having. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
And I'm gonna miss you guys, huh?
going now. See you later. Ciao. Adios. Bon voyage. We're history. We're out of here.
It means goodbye. Zuckerberg, you can go home now.